Everyone, my name is Ankit Jain and I welcome you to my channel Tech Journey with Ankit. Today I am planning to get started with another very important integration topic, that is the integration patterns as well as the best practices. We will deep dive into each pattern, try to understand whenever you are implementing that pattern, what all different approaches that you can follow to implement that pattern, and we'll also try to rate the different approaches as well so that you have a clear roadmap whenever you are working on those kind of an integration. Now, before I move further, I would like to thank you folks for helping me achieve my milestone. With the help of you, I have achieved the 15K subscribers on the YouTube. This journey has not been possible without your support, without your feedback, without your appreciation. Whatever the support, feedback, and appreciation that you folks are putting up on my YouTube videos, whatever you are sharing me over the top mate calls, over the LinkedIn, they all act as a fuel and always motivate me to create a better content for the community. I hope I will be helping you down the line as well with all those good content that can help you to achieve your technical milestones. Now, in case you folks wants to explore few of my additional courses which are available on the Udemy, you can definitely have a check and the links are available in the video description. Few of the courses are the Data Cloud Consultant course, Salesforce Real World Project course, Master Agentforce Masterclass, as well as the practice exam. This course will definitely help you to learn something new in your Salesforce journey. All these courses has been designed with one simple principle, that you should get lots of hands-on exercises as well as the scenarios, so that whenever you are building anything with respect to the data cloud or the Agentforce, you are always building it with full confidence. I hope these courses will help you to get the most out of these topics. Moreover, in case you folks like to have one-to-one connect with me, you can do that on the top mate, where you do have an option for the one-to-one connect, and you can also explore few of the digital products available on my top mate, where few of the most famous products are this interview guide. Personally, I came to know from most of you that this interview guide have helped you a lot in your interview preparation journey. Most of the questions that you folks have encountered have been referred from this interview guide, and all the questions and the answers that I try to put in this interview guide are very detailed with multiple examples, so that you don't only understand the question but also you will have the detailed understanding in case a similar question has been asked, how you can go and attempt it. There are few other guides are also available, like the LWC notes, Salesforce admin guide, data cloud fundamentals. You can also explore those guides as well. Now let's get started with our for a topic for the integration pattern. So we know that whenever we are implementing the interface, it is very common that we have to integrate our Salesforce with other application. Sometimes we might have to get the feed from the other applications into the Salesforce, and most of the times we have to also send the Salesforce data or the process to some other system as well. So integration is something which is very important whenever we are working on any kind of an integration scenarios, right? Although each integration scenarios are unique, they do have one common requirement and the issues that the developer architects must solve. So throughout this video, I will help you to understand what all different patterns or the strategies that you can follow for your integrations. These particular patterns, as well as the best practices that you should be implementing during your design phase and the implementation phase, make your Salesforce integration project definitely successful. So the decision needs to be taken to follow this pattern needs to be taken at a very early stage, whenever you are either in the planning phase or in the designing phase of an integration. Now, these are the 6 important patterns that Salesforce do recommend. When I say important, means these are not only the 6 patterns which are available. There are few other patterns that also you can go and put in, but most of the integration scenarios, they fall into one of these integration pattern. So the idea here is, in this playlist, I will be taking you each integration pattern in detail. so that I can help you to understand based on the scenario which integration pattern that you should go for. So idea here is I will be putting a dedicated video for each integration pattern where we will talk about those integration in very detail. Now, before we go and decide the integration pattern, it is very important that we have to go and understand that what kind of type of integration that we are doing. And these types of integration has been broadly categorized into three categories. So the number one category that we do have is the data integration. This pattern address the requirement whenever you have to sync the data between two or more systems so that both the system always contain the timely and the meaningful data. For example, if you have the two systems, for example, one is the Salesforce and another one is the SAP. If you want both the systems should have the common order details, then you have to go for the data integration pattern. By following this pattern, we are making sure that the two systems are always in sync so that both the system always have the meaningful data. Now, the another pattern that we do have is the process pattern. Now, this type of pattern is typically useful whenever you want to split your business processes into two or more applications. For example, let's say you are onboarding a customer, okay, but you want to do the customer background check into the one system. You want to go and do the KYC into the other system. So what you are doing, you are initiating the process in one system, for example, Salesforce, and then for the remaining processes, you are handing it over to another system. Whenever you do have that kind of a business process and whenever you are implementing that kind of an integration, it is referred as the process integration. When you implement a solution for typically this type of an integration, a triggering application has to call the processes which are available in another application. What does it mean? It means that, for example, on the Salesforce, we have initiated the customer onboarding. Now, as soon as the customer has been onboarded on the Salesforce, you have to send some trigger or a notification to the another system so that they can go and initiate their process. And once their process has been completed, they can again send the response back to the source system, that is the Salesforce. So whenever you do have that kind of a process split up between two or more applications, you should go for the process integration. And the third type of pattern that we do have here is the virtual integration. Now, what is virtual integration? The pattern in this category addresses the need for a user to view, search, and modify the data that is stored in the external system. So in the first pattern of data integration, what we are doing, we are always syncing the data between the two systems. But most of the times, business don't want to have the duplicate data in more than one application. They want whatever the data that is available in their system, that should be the source of truth. And in case another system wants to access that data, they go and view that data, search that data, modify that data, which is stored in the external system rather than duplicating it in the other system. So whenever you are implementing that kind of a solution, it falls under the virtual integration, right? Here, the triggering application typically needs to call out to another application and interact with the data in more real time. So that real time you are making an API call, accessing the data and viewing that data. Whenever you do have that kind of a pattern, it is referred as a virtual integration pattern. So in a summary, there are three types of patterns that we do have. Before you even go and make the decision of what kind of pattern that I should go and implement, you have to always put your use case, what kind of integration pattern that I will be developing, whether it's a data integration or a process integration or more like a virtual integration. This is the one important factor that you have to decide before you make a decision. Okay, I will go and implement one of the pattern. Another important decision that needs to be taken is the timing. Timing is something which will identify whenever you are doing the integration, it should be a synchronous integration or it should be an asynchronous integration. Now, what does it mean? Synchronous integration means whenever you are sending the request to the external system, you will wait unless and until you are receiving the response from the another system, right? Here, you are expecting that the external system with which you are integrating, they will return you the result immediately, right? Whenever you do have that kind of a requirement where you want to have the real-time request and the response operation, you should go for the synchronous. Typically, synchronous operations are avoided in majority of the integrations. But in case the client want to have the more real-time details, then you have to make sure that the payload that you are sharing in the request and the response, it should not be complex, right? And the external system with which you are integrating, they should be returning you the response immediately. Otherwise, there's a possibility of the transaction timeout as well. Now, another pattern that we do have here is the asynchronous pattern. So what was the caveat in the synchronous pattern? The client needs to wait unless and until they are getting the response from the server. But what if the client does not want to wait for the response from the server? So in the case of asynchronous, clients wants to send the request to the third party system. Now, once the response is available, they want to go and process that response. Whenever you do have that kind of a non-blocking or a queue based or a messaging based request, that should work in a one-way operation. It is referred as an asynchronous. Again, it is good whenever you are doing some bulk processing, right? Because then you will have the more timeout window. You can go and process the results in a better way. Now, based on the integration pattern type that you have decided and based on the integration timing that you are deciding, you have to take one more decision whether you are doing or implementing the outbound integration or the inbound integration. Now, what does it mean from the outbound integration and the inbound integration? Outbound integration means whether the integration request is going from the Salesforce to another system. That means it is going out from the Salesforce to external system. That is referred as an outbound integration. If it is an outbound integration, that means the request is going from Salesforce to external system, right? Then you can use this matrix that Salesforce have provided to make the decision what kind of pattern that you should go and implement. If you are doing the process integration and your timing is the synchronous, then you should go for the request and the reply pattern. Here I am talking only about the outbound integration. Okay. Same goes for the process integration, but you're okay with having the asynchronous, then you can go and implement the fire and the forget pattern. If you are doing the data integrations for the synchronous, again request and reply. For the asynchronous, you can use the UI update based on the data changes. These are the different patterns that Salesforce have provided, right? That you can use as I'm repeating one more time based on the pattern type as well as the timing. Like we have discussed for the outbound integration, what if the request is coming into the Salesforce? The request is not going out this time. The request is coming into the Salesforce. That is more incoming to the Salesforce. It is referred as an inbound integration. So whenever you are implementing the inbound integration and you are implementing again the process integration in a synchronous way or in an asynchronous way, you should always go for the remote call-in. I will talk in more detail what is remote call-in when we go and discuss each pattern in detail. Okay, but the idea here is from this video, you should understand what all key factors which are responsible to decide what type of pattern that you should go for. So if I ask you a one-liner, what all three parameters based on which you will decide what kind of pattern that you should go for? Number one, what is the pattern type? Either it is process integration, data integration, or the virtual integration. Second one, what is the timing, whether it is synchronous or asynchronous. Number three, whether it is an inbound integration or outbound integration. Now, based on these three parameters, you will make the decision what kind of pattern that you will go and implement. I hope you got the idea of why what is the importance of having the pattern, and based on what parameters you will go and select the pattern. Now in the next video, we will deep dive more into the first pattern that we do have, that is the request and the reply pattern.